The Supreme Court lets down federal spirit in Kashmir verdict. In a judgment that has reverberated through the corridors of Indian federalism, the Supreme Court's recent ruling on Article 370 stands as a testament to a disconcerting endorsement of centralization over state autonomy. The court, with its decision, has not only given a political victory to the ruling BJP, but also, perhaps unintentionally, set a precedent that could undermine the foundational principles of India's democratic ethos. The path to this ruling started on August 5, 2019, with a constitutional order. It applied the full constitution to Jammu and Kashmir, J&K, altering key definitions. This move sidestepped the usual need for the state's legislative assembly's nod. Traditionally, this consent came from J&K's now-defunct Constituent Assembly. On August 6th, a notice rendered Article 370 inoperative, implying presidential authority to act alone. This action revoked J&K's special status and split it into two union territories. On December 11, 2023, the Supreme Court delivered a verdict on the contentious issue of Jammu and Kashmir's special status under Article 370. In a move that surprised many, the court found parts of the government's August 5, 2019 order unconstitutional. Yet, in a perplexing turn, it upheld the consequential actions that stemmed from this order. This paradoxical stance of the court is alarming for several reasons, raising grave concerns about the interpretation and application of the Constitution. Firstly, the verdict sanctifies an interpretation of the Constitution that empowers Parliament to take irreversible actions in a state under President's rule. This interpretation sets a dangerous precedent, effectively allowing the central government to impose sweeping changes without requiring input or consent from the state's own elected representatives. Such a precedent poses a significant threat to the federal structure of India, undermining the autonomy and legislative power of state governments. Furthermore, the court's rationale that the Constitution has been incrementally applied to Jammu and Kashmir since the dissolution of its Constituent Assembly in 1957 culminates in the removal of its special status. This reasoning fundamentally overlooks the historical context and assurances that underpinned J&K's accession to India. By disregarding the instrument of accession and the delicate negotiations that followed, the verdict implies that the central government can unilaterally alter the terms of this historical contract. Another critical aspect of the Supreme Court's judgment is its conspicuous avoidance of ruling on whether the Constitution permits the reorganization of Jammu and Kashmir into two union territories. This glaring omission leaves a significant question mark over the legitimacy of the entire process. The only justification for not addressing this critical issue was a vague promise by the Solicitor General that J&K's statehood would eventually be restored, a promise that seems to hold little weight in constitutional jurisprudence. Moreover, by upholding the creation of Ladakh as a separate union territory, the court has implicitly invited the union government to consider creating new union territories out of existing states. This move potentially opens a Pandora's box of political re-engineering, allowing for the reconfiguration of state boundaries and structures at the union's discretion. The judgment appears to expand the powers of the president and parliament, enabling them to act without regard for the wishes of the elected state governments, thereby diminishing the autonomy and role of the state's legislatures. In essence, while the judgment maintains Indian sovereignty over Jammu and Kashmir, it does so at the cost of weakening the institutional checks on power that are essential to a federal and democratic nation. The verdict raises profound concerns about the potential misuse of president's rule to carry out central mandates, possibly in stark contrast to the intentions of a state's elected government. It opens the door to constitutional amendments, the abrogation of interstate agreements, or major policy shifts being implemented without the consent of the affected state, casting a bleak outlook for the powers and autonomy of states within the Union. In conclusion, the Supreme Court's ruling on Article 370 not only challenges the special status of Jammu and Kashmir, but also poses an existential threat to the very idea of Indian federalism. It prioritizes the central narrative over regional autonomy, sovereignty over self-governance, sending a chilling message to all states about the fragile nature of their powers within the Union of India. The verdict serves as a stark reminder of the complex political dynamics at play, overshadowing the delicate balance of powers that have historically governed the relationships between the center and the states since India's inception. Please like, share, and subscribe to Muslim News Network to stay updated with our new videos.